to pray in harmony. That's the main hall for the emperor to conduct the daily affairs.
Oh, okay. So this is the Imperial Palace?
Yeah.
Last week on The Inside Story, we visited Beijing with the Windsor Community Concert Band. They traveled to 6 cities in China in 1992 as guests of the China Performing Arts Agency. We only covered 1 week's worth of the trip last week, and today we cover the balance of the 3-week adventure on The Inside Story. I'm Molnar, and welcome to The Inside Story. In the coming weeks and months, we'll be bringing you stories on people in Windsor and Essex County and Chatham and Kent counties. On today's program, we travel to China with the Windsor Community Concert Band. Ever have to write one of those stories in school about what you did on your summer vacation? Well, since I'm in the Community Concert Band, that's what I did on my summer vacation of 1992.
This morning.
It's known as the City of Forests, the City of Everlasting Spring, and the automotive capital of China. Changchun is Windsor's twin city in China and the second stop on the Windsor Community Concert Band's 1992 tour of 6 Chinese cities.
Get out of my kitchen. Now, get out of my kitchen. Oh, hello there. Oh, what's your name? Oh, this is Fu.
Changchun is also the film capital of China. Here the band members have a chance to dress up in costumes and tour the backlot of the Changchun Film Studio.
Where's Alda now?
You know, all these clothes are made in the Forbidden City, they're priceless. But here they're all made of paper or plastic.
It was old in the sense of it seemed like it was something out of the 20s and the 30s to us. But we got to tour their prop rooms and things like that, and that was really a lot of fun. We really enjoyed that.
Oh,
That's a blade.
The studio also has its own orchestra, and Changchun hosts a film festival every summer. Many of the props at the studio are used in the movie The Last Emperor. Some of the movie was shot on location here and at the Last Emperor's palace in Changchun. Puyi ruled Manchuria as a puppet emperor for the Japanese during World War II from here.
When we were in Changchun, the floor attendant on our floor, she spoke a fair amount of English, and using our translation books and everything, we talked to her and we were able to ask her certain questions using our translation book, and she would answer us like yes, no, 1,000 or whatever, and she would ask us questions, and we learned a lot about like how much they make a year, the working conditions, and just things in general, and that was a lot of fun.
There's also a Disney-like theme park in Changchun, sort of. One exhibit traced the origins of Buddha from a monkey king. We aren't too sure what this is supposed to signify.
Looked like something out of a David Letterman skit. The whole thing was a little bizarre.
The train ride from Changchun to Dalian was, well, quite an experience. I think it was about 12 to 14 hours long. I don't remember how long it was exactly. It wasn't air conditioned, but we had the windows open. But with all the soot from the passing steam locomotives and the industries, we were pretty dirty by the time we got to Dalian.
But 7 band members got lost at the Changchun train station and almost didn't get on.
We looked and the rest of the group were gone. And so we tried to ask around where the train station was. We could see it, but we couldn't find the path to get there. And so then what we had to do was, once we found the train station, we had to try and find the train to Dalian. That's when we learned that Dalian is known by about 10 different names. And they kept saying track 2, but there was 2 track 2s. We had no idea what our train number was, what time it left. And we couldn't see anyone else from our group because we all had white jackets on and we'd normally stand out in a crowd. So we wandered around, panicking every 5 minutes, looking around for a familiar face, didn't find anybody. And then finally our guide who came with us, he finally went back and looked for us. And it's hard to find a small Chinese man amongst thousands in the train station, but he finally found us, we found him. We were so happy and we got reunited, and then we had an exciting 11-hour train ride after that.
And this is what passed for the toilet on the train. This is a typical Oriental toilet. It's just a hole in the floor. Our hotel rooms had Western-style toilets, and we could find them in some spots in China, but unfortunately we had to make do with this on the train. And you could smell it throughout the car.
It was a place you didn't want to have to go to very often if you could avoid it. But on a 13-hour trip, it became inevitable that you would have to make the trip to the loo on the train.
At the Dalian Festival of Lights, as you can, or Festival of Lanterns, let me correct myself, Festival of Lanterns. So we get the...
Lantern,
Yeah, Festival of Lanterns.
Beach, Mountain and Seas Lantern Festival.
Yes.
4th session.
And as you can see, modern-day China, they've replaced the lantern with the electric Christmas bulbs.
Finally, we reached the colorful and picturesque seaside city of Dalian.
Like Vegas at night, I think Dalian was. It was a little harbor town, and it was just full of neon lights and big signs and stuff. It looked just like Vegas. We came in, they had a little a model of in the mountains of the Great Wall, and it was all lit up, and it was quite a surprise coming through the towns that we'd been through, and then to get to Dalian and see how civilized it was. It was quite a tourist town.
The one factory we went to, the glass blowing factory, or crystal blowing factory, I think it was. The working conditions were awful compared to Canadian standards. The tour that they took us through the furnace room in the glass blowing area, and I did not feel safe there.
The band also toured a factory where they make beautiful artwork from seashells.
They would be etching it or grinding it, and most of them that I could see didn't wear any kind of safety goggles or safety gloves. We were right beside the sea, and it was so nice to look out of our hotel room windows. We stayed in a beautiful hotel looking over the sea. To be able to look out and, see the fishermen and see the boats, and it was an area called Tiger Bay, and that was really a very picturesque place to be. It was very pleasant there, and it was really nice.
Go
people got sick. I think it's because of we weren't quite sure how clean the water was that we were drinking, and people had diarrhea, that sort of, you know, fun travelers problems. Only one place that we were at had a pharmacy, so we had to sort of fend for ourselves, and one time I had to actually resort to Chinese medicine.
Tell us about that.
The cough medicine was snake bile and semen that we had to drink, and it just tasted just like Aunt Jemima cough syrup.
By now, about half the band had caught something, including me, but we braved a 2-hour bus ride, complete with police escort, to the country to visit the Jinsu Farmers Band. These folks are farmers who record music as well as perform when they're not tending the fields, bricklaying, or working as carpenters. They give over 100 free performances a year, and they put on a 1-hour-long concert just for us. At the end of the concert, members of our band joined members of their band, and they played together.
It was really interesting to see the Chinese music because it's all handwritten. It was, they don't print music there. And most of the music part is essentially the same. The staff is the same and that, but all the directions are in Chinese. So we were sort of blind leading the blind. We just followed by the other musicians. One other thing that we got to do is play Stars and Stripes Forever. So that's one thing that we found was really an internationally known song. They played it by memory, so that's what we did as well. The other piece of music, they played by memory, but we didn't know that. We're trying to read Chinese music and figure it out. But we found everyone to be very friendly, and I really found that, you know, it was great because music is like a universal language. It's a language to itself. So we really had fun. They signed my translation book. They signed their names, and I signed their piece of music. So that was kind of nice, like a courtesy thing.
The Jinsu Band was also invited to tour Canada, and a trip is in the works.
By sharing our culture and working together, we as friends, as musicians, can help to make this world a better place for all humanity to live in. When I get back to Canada, I will approach prominent Chinese Canadians citizens and officials from the Canadian government to extend an invitation to have this band tour Canada. And I hope that this will be the beginning of many exchanges of many bands throughout Canada and China for the future.
We also brought this band more Western music because music and even musical instruments are hard to come by in China.
Their instruments are quite poor condition. Looks like they've never been reconditioned at all. Our instruments, we've bought them privately, so to look at them, they really were impressed with them. They had not seen like European-style instruments, and you know, we let them try them out and play it, and they enjoyed it.
At a special lunch afterwards, we found out we had more things in common.
1, 2, 3, got it.
But we brought along a ringer. From Dalian, it was on to the ancient capital of China, Nanjing.
And we went to this pagoda, and I think it was 9 or 10 stories high. So we had to climb this winding stairway all the way to the top. And but the view from the top was spectacular. I got great shots from up there.
We're up on the mountainside, trees everywhere, and just the beauty of the Chinese landscape is just amazing from there.
Looks like surrounding the city of Nanjing. Just going through it right now.
The band performed 8 concerts in 6 cities in China, and the members acted as their own road crew on each concert.
Here are the guys loading the truck with all the equipment in the suitcases.
After an afternoon of shopping in a Confucian temple turned shopping area, it was off on a day-long bus ride to Hangzhou.
The houses that we saw were very small, and from what I understand, most houses do not have their own indoor plumbing, but there are public conveniences every so often down the street. Definitely different from what we would expect. I think their expectations are probably not as high as what we have. We expect to have houses with running water. We expect to have houses with electricity, rooms of our own, and not have to share with maybe more than one family in a house. So it would be quite a shock for one of us to move and live as the Chinese do in everyday life.
Along the way, we stopped to look at a rice field.
大号手麦克斯顿，在加拿大十分流行的西班牙民歌《拉邦巴》。
I found the trip grueling for me from the point of view of all the singing I had to do. The playing wasn't too bad, but with the singing and the choreography, there was a lot to remember, and you wanted to make sure you tried to do it right every show. So, you know, that was a lot to keep up on. I enjoyed the trip. I certainly enjoyed the performing, but the highlight for me, of course, is the touring.
Hangzhou was actually one of the most beautiful cities.
We took a boat cruise on one of China's most famous West Lakes. It was created in the 8th century by the governor of Hangzhou, who had it dredged from a lagoon. It's about 3 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. The area is dotted with pavilions and causeways. In 1972, Richard Nixon visited and planted a sequoia tree in the botanical gardens. We also toured a silk factory in Hangzhou, where they use pretty antiquated equipment. But they produce some pretty nice products like silk wall hangings and tablecloths.
But it was interesting seeing the silk being made. Some of the silks they made were just amazing. The woven silks with all the beautiful colors and stuff like that. It was really interesting. We had to buy a couple of those to take back, but they're still sitting in my drawer at home. But
to your left hand is the Shanghai first department store, the largest department shop. Oh no, store, we call it store. The largest shop in Shanghai.
Shanghai was really different. That was our last stop on the trip, and we had pretty well gotten used to the way things were in China and pretty well adapted to it. But Shanghai was the most North American influenced city that we visited, and it was quite different actually. The shopping was better. You know, it was more of an industrial looking, well, not an industrial, but a commercial city.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Unfortunately, I guess in Shanghai there were a lot of beggars, and that was very sad to see. Very, very congested, very polluted. Just so many bicycles all over the place.
Walking on the street in a city of 12 million people can be a hazard to your health.
The rules of the road. Well, there are no rules, okay? The cars, the drivers there are just crazy. They just dart everywhere. The honking, lots of honking, very, very noisy.
That was our best concert, I guess we figured, on the whole trip. It was the one where they knew the most North American music, and so they could appreciate it a bit more. And the applause we had was just amazing. It was in between songs, they just raised the roof. remember at the end we did something like 4 encores.
The following May, the band performed a concert in Windsor, recalling music and memories from the trip. The concert featured Lai Yuxing from the Chengdu Conservatory in China, who is an expert on traditional Chinese wind instruments. And Canadian jazz saxophonist Paul Brody, whom Lee is studying with in Toronto. Brody has visited China before and recorded there. The band traveled a distance equal to a trip around the world and is now looking forward to returning in 1995. The trip will take them to 6 new provinces in China and Hong Kong and Vietnam. This will be the first Canadian group to tour that country since the war.
We're going to be playing for stadium-size crowds, I guess, of mostly university students. They're going to beef up the show, I guess, too. We're going to have our own dancing group with us, hopefully. And there's a laser light show they've been talking about, so I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with that.
What's nice is that we now have an ideal of what to expect, like what to bring, what not to bring, what to see, what not to do.
At least I know what to bring pharmaceutical-wise and clothes-wise. It's going to be very hot and very sweaty.
I would love to go back. I would go back in a heartbeat, of course. Once you go to China once, it gets in your blood, and you've got to go back.
It really did change me. I think I have a much greater appreciation of the Chinese people, and they have a very tremendous work ethic and that kind of thing. I was very impressed. The people were wonderful.
Next week, get the inside story on the Challenge Cup.